YouTube, how you doing? Murph here, bringing you another product review. Today's review is going to be on the brand new DeepCool KG722. This is a 65% gaming keyboard released by DeepCool, who you may already be familiar with. They are primarily known for their cooling options for desktops and laptops and things like that. But they are beginning to branch out more into the peripheral market, and they are doing it with two brand new devices, this KG722 and this new gaming mouse, the MG510, which I will do a separate review on. It should go live on my channel pretty much the same time as this. But right now we're going to focus on the gaming keyboard. The KG722 is a 65% mechanical gaming keyboard with red linear switches, programmable keys, and full per key RGB backlighting. We'll talk about the specifications and the software in a moment, but as usual, we're going to start off by talking about the design and the build quality. As far as the build quality is concerned, I think it's great. It's a full plastic bodied case, very similar to what you would see out of something like a GK61 in terms of pure build quality. There's no bending or flexing in this case at all. Even putting a considerable amount of pressure on the top and sides of this keyboard, I get almost no bending or flexibility out of it whatsoever. Just very rigid. On the back, these rubber bump-ons are very secure. They're not going to peel up on you over time or anything like that. As far as the keycaps are concerned, these are laser etched ABS keycaps. And as you know, ABS keycaps are kind of known for over time with extended use developing kind of that shine on the top of the keycap. It gets very smooth and shiny as time goes on compared to something like a PBT keycap. So that is something to keep in mind, but for what it's worth, these keycaps feel great. They're extremely smooth to the touch to begin with, and while this keyboard is far too new for me to speak to the longevity of the keycaps, I don't foresee any issues. Obviously, being ABS with extended use, months, maybe a couple years down the road, depending on how much you use this keyboard, you may start to see some wear and tear on these keycaps, but the initial build quality is just fine. Also, these red linear switches are Gatoron red switches, which we'll talk more about in a moment, but just know that Gatoron switches are very durable. They're rated up to 50 million clicks, and typically you're gonna get much more than that out of these. So this keyboard in general should be very durable and should last you for quite a long time. Now moving on to the design of this keyboard, as you can see, very slim bezels on this keyboard, going with the 65% form factor, which has become my favorite sized keyboard at the moment. It saves you a ton of desk space while still retaining a lot of the functionality of like a TKL or something like that. You still get your dedicated delete, page up and down keys, your arrow keys, but the overall design is extremely slim. We already spoke to the laser etched ABS keycaps, and as you can see, those are front printed legends. And not only do they look good and they're very easy to see and read, they don't go with like an overly, what I would consider a gamer font with these. So they're very legible, but it really helps with the LEDs that they use in this keyboard. They're very bright, very vibrant, especially out of a board at this price range. They're extremely bright, even with a lot of light coming through a window, or if you've got a really bright light above or behind you. These are still super easy to see, very legible, and look great. There's not a lot of branding on this keyboard, which I like. The only branding on the case itself, and I really wouldn't even consider this the case because it's more of just the sticker on the back, but you do have the DeepCool sticker here with the model number and the serial number and all of that. But as far as the case itself, there's just no branding. You do get the 5 rubber bump-ons on the back, 1 on each corner and 1 in the center, which is going to keep the keyboard very planted on your desk. It's not going to slide around on you or anything like that. And you do get, I guess, the one piece of branding that's not on the case. It's on one of the keycaps, but on the escape key there, I'll plug this in so it's a little bit easier to see. On the escape key, you do get that DeepCool logo. All right, so as far as specifications are concerned, this keyboard comes in at about 31 centimeters long, about 10 centimeters wide, and about 3 centimeters in height. And the overall weight is right around 580 grams. As mentioned before, Gatoron red linear switches, ABS plastic keycaps, full RGB backlighting. This keyboard has a polling rate of 1000 Hertz, and this keyboard is equipped with a software option for controlling RGB functions as well as macros. And while we're on the topic of software, let's go ahead and take a look at that real quick. All right, now for the software. Once you download the software, and I'll put a link in the description to that, once you download the software, this is what you're going to be presented with. You can see here the KG722 has been detected as the input. Up here at the top, you've got home, device, and macro. We'll come over to macro real quick just to show you that this is where you are going to be setting up your macros if you choose to do that. Pretty easy to do through the software. And then what most of you are going to be concerned with is going to be found under the device. And then on the left hand side here, if you come down to the little light bulb icon, you can see here this is where you're going to control the RGB functions. If you come down here to the bottom, you can actually just turn the LED backlighting off if you choose. And then on the left hand side here, this is going to be all of the preset RGB functions. You can see things like static, and you can pick a color here, whatever you want. Neon, breathe, wave, and on most of these you're going to be able to control the speed and the brightness of these as well. So you can speed these up, slow them down, twinkle, snake, radar, aurora, which is going to be one of those reactive modes. It'll go out kind of in a line from whichever key you press. Ripple, same thing, a reactive mode that will ripple out from whatever key you press. You've got what they call their true reactive mode, which is just going to light up for whichever key that you press. Cross, speed respond, and musical rhythm, which you're not going to see here because I'm not going to be playing any music for copyright purposes. But if you're playing music, the keyboard will kind of light up and match the rhythm of the music. And then you can also come in here and set up your own RGB functions if you want to do that. You can actually come in here and change each individual key if you would like. So the software here is pretty good, easy to use, and I don't think anybody will have any issues with that. All right, guys, and that's about it for the software. Now, before I get into the end of the video, let's go ahead and do a real quick sound test for these Gatoron red switches. Overall, as far as the typing experience is concerned, it's what you can expect from an all plastic bodied case with Gatoron red switches. I will say that the stabilizers on this keyboard are quite good. I did notice that the lube was a little bit inconsistent. There's much more lube on the space bar than there is on, say, like the enter key. And on the space bar and shift key, there is a moderate amount of lube on the wire itself, which is great, but there was a little bit of excess lube that was just kind of stuck to like the top of the stem, which overall is not a huge complaint. It's just something that I like to bring up when there's a little bit of inconsistency or the lube is just a little bit sloppy in terms of application. But ultimately, it's not a huge deal, Especially with keyboards in this price range, that's very common to see something like that, and a lot of times you don't even get pre-lube stabilizers to begin with. So just something to make note of, but really in terms of what that's going to mean to the end user, you are getting pre-lube stabs here, and they sound and feel pretty good. I've been really impressed with both the sound quality and the typing experience on this keyboard. Now that pretty much wraps up the review. As far as what I think about this keyboard, I really like the design of this keyboard. It's very simple and clean, yet still definitely has more of a gamer aesthetic with the blue keycap with the DeepCool logo on it, the full RGB backlighting. The build quality is solid for sure. You're getting a software option to control the RGB functions, as well as assign any macros that you want to do. The typing experience is good, and the sound quality is really good as well. It's not the best sounding keyboard that I've reviewed lately, but for what it is, especially under $100, again, this is an $80 keyboard, I think it's quite good. The gaming keyboard market right now is pretty saturated, to be honest with you. And so I think companies who are developing new products right now realize that, and they understand that in order to be competitive whatsoever in this space, you really have to come out swinging. And I think that DeepCool did enough to do that, to be competitive in this space. Coming out at an $80 price point and coming out with the specifications that they did, I don't think they're gonna have any issues competing with other keyboards in this price range. It's a good product and a good gaming keyboard. I've really enjoyed my time using it, and I think if you're in the market for a gaming keyboard, especially a compact like 60-65% gaming keyboard, and you want linear switches, and the top end of your budget is somewhere in that $70 to $100 range, I think this is definitely worthy of consideration. One thing I would like to see happen here, and this could be in the pipeline, I'm not really sure if this is being worked on already or not, but I'd like to see another color option, specifically maybe a white or a gray or something like that, just to kind of give you a different option in terms of color. And I'd like to see more switch options involved, even if they stick with the Gatoron switches. Let's see maybe a brown or a blue switch for somebody who wants more of a tactile switch, or a clicky switch or something like that. So basically just more options here is something that I'd like to see. But in terms of real actual complaints, I don't have many, and for an $80 keyboard, that's a great sign. With that being said, that wraps up the review, guys. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, found it useful. If you did, make sure to hit the thumbs up button. Also, if you want to see other content like this, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so that you can be notified of when I post new content. And YouTube, we'll catch you later.